This is Chris.
Yeah. I forgot the intro for this fucking show.
We tell lost
Well, no,
tapes.
I know that.
In a
that
world
much.
full of science.
Sometimes
Lost
people
tapes.
make things up. In a world where people don't know any better. Where the hell?
Do you
Things are
believe?
inspired by the possibility. The show is inspired by the possibility it could have been good.
I love it.
Yeah. I think we'll be fine without it. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to... I was going to say hello, everyone. Welcome to Lost Tapes. Hello, welcome to a mistake. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Scary Stories We Tell. I am one of your hosts, Chris, and I am joined by two of the other hosts of this show, your friend and mine, artist among artists, Maggie the Odd, and Jess, who podcasts and does other things from time to time,
I do.
Ooh.
like direct movies.
Yes. Well, assistant direct movies. But yes, I do that.
Yeah, you're a big shot. You can own it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you're still directing movies, bro.
I mean, yeah, fair.
You've directed, even if it's assistant directed, more movies than I've even gotten close to.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, see?
Be on one this June.
See, look at that. Yeah, there you go. On this episode of Lost Tapes, we are talking about the third episode of the third season of the show, all about the Strigoi vampires. So this episode aired October 5th, 2010, and it is all about the Strigoi. I guess somebody watched The Strain, huh? Because...
Yeah,
That
it
is.
is.
That is exactly. I'm like, what is the time? Like, was it the same time?
The Strain book came out like 2008, I think. Like it's a pretty old book, I feel like, because the show wasn't until like 2014.
Yeah.
Maybe the book's not that old. Maybe, I don't know. Like, that's the other thing. Like, when I think about this, like, that's the only thing that comes to mind is The Strain.
Yeah,
Strain
exactly.
was 2009, by the way, so I was off by a year. But like, it's like that old. Like, it took 6 years or 5 years for the show to come out subsequent to the book. So,
Right.
But Strigoi are in 2009 parlance. They're there. So this is 2010. So they definitely read the
Yep.
book, or at least have knowledge of the book.
One would think, but it's
Or
hard
they
to
just
tell.
really needed a filler episode and they were like, what thing can we do that's not exactly the same, but also the same as something we've already done in this series?
so many vampire iterations. I'd
Is
say
this the
I'd like
second?
second or third, I think, because the first episode of the second season was our vampire one, and that was the new helm one. And I want to. And then there's the Iraqi like banshee gals.
Cave vampires.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Like there were vampires of the cave, right?
Yeah. That
Right. ransacked
sonar. So yeah, I guess this is the third vampiric episode in Lost Tapes. No Loch Ness, but we got load of vampires.
Right. This episode is well, it features the Enigma Corporation. So
We got one.
yeah. It's not, I don't understand what the Strigoi are supposed to be in this episode.
I don't either. I was trying to. I watched it earlier today, and I felt like I had missed something in like the middle where
There was no real conflict.
there was no real conflict, and there's no actual description of what it is. I mean, I guess it is. I mean, in Russian, or not Russian, Romani culture, the Strigoi is more of like an undead thing rather than like a straight up vampire. The
Like a
vampire
spirit.
aspects. The vampire aspects are that yes, you can be turned into one if you are bitten by it, but it's kind of also like a super zombie too,
Yeah.
like a super smart zombie. And
Right.
they describe it in the show as being something that can, like, it can turn into different animals. It can be invisible. It has super speed and super strength. And those are all, yes, in they go with the Romani tradition of what Strigoi can do. But ultimately, it's like, it's a predator. It's the predator,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, cool abilities. It just depends on what class you're running.
And nobody...
Shut up.
Waiting for somebody.
Wow.
No, that dead air was me smiling to myself about making a Vampire the Masquerade reference.
That
so.
was me realizing what it was, but having nothing to say other than knowing that's what you were referencing.
Did you put points in obfuscate?
And that was me calling you.
Yeah. Thank you for participating, everybody.
I don't understand why we needed another vampire episode past the first one.
Yeah, the first one was actually second, because the first one was the cave vampires.
Let's just say vampire definition vampire. We didn't need more than one.
True. Because there's a lot of weird repeats in this whole series, but I think the vampire one was well overkill. I would have liked to see them tackle maybe redo the werewolf one. There's so many werewolf adjacent things that would have been interesting for, because that first one was such a hot fart in a car. It was bad. Well, and I mean, again, I feel like we're missing the point here with this show. The people making this show, this is not about these kinds of things. And cryptids would. Yeah, and the longer the show has gone on, the further it's gotten away from a cryptid. Yeah, or even the animal facts. I miss my animal facts. They did a vague whispering of that, but once again, if it's not a cryptid, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, this could exist. It's like, it doesn't though.
Right, yeah. It absolutely doesn't. And honestly, this whole episode with the Enigma Corp, it just feels like they're just trying to make their a video game cut scene with every
and this ain't the first time we have brought that up.
No, the zombie episode has that first person shit too, and it was real bad there too.
And to the point where I'm like, are the people that are doing the voiceover, the horrible ADR voiceover for each of these cutaway scenes we have here, are they video game voice actors? Because they sound like it. It sounds like a video game first person. Yeah, they're around the corner, about 5 steps ahead. Watch out.
Yeah. I hit him. Shoot him in the head.
Right.
Also, the middle.
Also, I really, I know this is jumping ahead, but again, to jump around here is, it was 18 minutes episode. Thank God.
18-minute nothing episodes.
The fact that now we have a show where they're pulling out guns and shooting at these things, it's like, it just feels very
whatever.
It feels very counterintuitive to what the show's vibe was in those first 2 seasons.
Really was.
Which was a show that was in congruence with being on the Animal Planet.
Found footage. It was fucking straight up found footage,
right?
Too.
Well, and to your point, Jess, it really felt like, it's just people going out and on a camping trip or on a thing. And it's like, they're running into wild animals because they're out in the animals' domain. Now it's like, what is this fucking show?
The whole setup for this, because we haven't said it at all, is what it opens up with 2 guys just throwing a football around, being all cash at their oil job, I guess.
They've seen the room.
And behind them, one of their trucks starts slowly rolling away, to reveal that the guy in it is passed out or dead, whatever, on the wheel, and they can't figure it out. And what I don't understand, and maybe I wasn't paying attention enough, maybe I don't know enough about Strigoi, but if it's a Strigoi attack, isn't it gonna leave some sort of mark,
wound.
Physical wound? But all these people, because the whole setup is that they get played off by the news and the government, that it's just some toxin, blah, 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 that's killing people, and they have to quarantine the town so nobody can go in and nobody can go out. And everybody who gets quote unquote killed until they get to the actual, we get to see the vampire in it. All of these people are just dead, with no injury at all, until we get to the one scene in where it's revealed that one of the people has been bitten by the Strigoi and is now one of them and is ripping someone's arm off. But I don't know. It didn't.
They're very docile.
Yeah. What did it?
Well, and what I don't understand is what are the vampires? Are they just is this just a vampire like Dracula then? Is there more than one? What is going on here? Are they in the sandstorm? Are they using the sandstorm for cover? I'm having a hard time understanding because the episode gives us effectively nothing to work with.
Right, because in the Romani legend, most of the time Strigoi are associated with an undead spirit and misfortune and bad energy, essentially. And they are creatures that are born of that. and usually like from dead bodies. But
right.
So in this setup at this, oil wherever with these contractors working there, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. They don't give any indication that maybe there's a burial ground or something around that has generated these, upset spirits or whatever.
Could do anything at this rate because they haven't been afraid to do stretches before on their plots. So it's
this is ultimately, this one is absolutely fake. So you could either do it justice and actually talk about the Romani like tradition of it, or if you're going to do this, then lean hard into it and make it at least fun.
Mm.
Well, and that's the other thing. I mean, to your point, Jess, the bulk majority of the episode is just people finding dead people and going, what's going on here? I don't understand. Like, how entertaining, how fun. What a fun way to present us with the story of the Strigoi by having people just wandering around looking at people with like pancake makeup on, like white pancake makeup. Like it's not even anything. They're not even doing anything. Like it's strange to me how little effort there is here. It almost feels like they could have just said this was anything until there's like a vampire on screen. It's kind of just, okay.
And we don't see it because they use the whole invisibility. Like they make it known to make sure to say the invisibility thing up front, like early on in the episode, so that they can get away with the entirety of the episode almost not showing anything. Because they shoot the trank gun at and it was a dog at one point too in the episode, right? It takes over the dog. And this is the thing, is they talk about it as if it's possessing things, but I don't really think that's what Strigoi are doing. I think they're entities created. It's like in Japanese culture with ghosts, where they come out of really bad ways to go, right? Like it's the whole unfinished business kind of thing.
Right.
And from what brief, rundown I read of the Strigoi is in that similar vein, is that they are associated with misfortune and trauma and things like that. So I don't understand what we're going for when all we're ostensibly getting is this thing that's just running around killing these people, which yes, they say that they have to eat people to sustain their energy or whatever. But I wasn't on the last two vampire episodes. And so for this to be the third one, it does kind of feel like they're acknowledging that they've done 3 vampire episodes and they're not giving it a lot of effort here.
Well, and the last vampire episode, the one where it's the vampire in the new house, it's kind of like this episode. It has like a southwestern or like I think that one's maybe set in like Colorado, and this one's set in like New Mexico, obviously. So it's the same feel too. It's like desert vampires, even. Like I don't understand. Like, why are we talking about a Strigoi in New Mexico?
Right.
Convenient.
I guess, but like it's so weird because of all the things. Like this should have been like the Chupacabra episode.
Yeah,
right. It's
gonna redo something. Like you're in New Mexico. Do Skinwalkers again.
Do better though.
Do aliens.
Yeah.
New Mexico.
Come on now.
I don't understand. This is like right there. It's like within reach. All you got to do is just like reach out and grab it. Like, why are we doing Strigoi?
It's one of those times where I feel they overthought it a bit too much on resolving to not do certain main ones that have been done, although they do other main ones that have been done. And it feels like they tried to okay, well, we're going to do Strigoi because it's not quite vampire. It's different enough, I guess. But we're actually not going to talk about the actual, what.
It's just very far removed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, Chris, you're dead on when it's like, no, I miss the cryptids. This is absolute nonsense. This is a whole grab bag of stuff that sure makes a cool story if you put in the effort. But we got neither cool story nor cryptids. So it feels like a bit of a cop-out.
Well, and ultimately, the other thing is, this is the kind of show that belongs on something like Shudder if this is what you're going to do. Like,
sure.
If you're going to do vampires and zombies and then just go make a horror show. There's nothing wrong with that, but don't take something that stands on its own in a second season that I think you would agree, Maggie, is pretty good. The second season of the show's pretty good.
That's probably the most memorable. When you look at YouTube compilations and reviews, the second season seems to be what people remember from their childhoods that they really fell in love with that show with. it has some really great moments that could be standalone movies. As much as we've razzed on them, I would sit down and watch it again. Absolutely. But yeah, this one, it's really sad to kind of see it flatline like this when there were still so many options that they could have gone with. And like the Enigma Corp is like a fun little plot thing just to kind of keep the ball rolling. But it seems like they either overutilize it in some episodes and severely ignore it in others. It's very hit or miss. It could be a cool tool if they would use it a little bit better, but I think it's just a straight up miss on this one. It's one of like the least memorable episodes out of a bunch of like meh episodes.
Well, giving someone 2 fake fangs and some white contacts is not enough.
They went like a half-ass Buffy route. Like I could see the Buffy inspiration in there with the eyes and the like little bit of eyebrow.
Did they build out the brow?
A little bit. Like it was a teeny bit, but not enough for it to like
stand out, obviously.
Right. So like I can see it going there, but it feels very much like okay, we have 10 minutes to show this vampire, hurry up, get the makeup on, and let's go to lunch. Like
well, and they cheat. I mean, they cheat because there's a sandstorm. They cheat because, like you've mentioned, the vampire, the Strigoi, is invisible. They cheat because the Strigoi can turn into animals. I mean, that's a power of the Strigoi. Because again,
maybe that's it. Maybe we cracked the code because they had no budget. They had to pick things that they didn't actually ever have to commit to seeing.
God damn.
I mean, we've had that before with the water episodes. I mean, Maggie, you and I talked about that plenty.
And yeah, at least there was some sort of weird thematic thing going on. Like, I do hate the repeat water episodes, but like, dude, you're on land. Come on. Just a little bit more. A little bit more.
Well, and what I ultimately don't understand is you have the Enigma Corporation. You have 2 characters that, again, should have been showing up this entire season. And this is the second time we've seen them because they were in the zombie episode. And I don't have a sense of who they are as characters. And I don't think that the show actually cares about doing that either.
They're also not good at their job. Like, episodes, they really have terrible judgment. They don't blend in a crowd. They pull their gun out at the first sign of danger. It's like, if the initial, like, I still am going with my headcanon. I like the fact that the first 2 seasons, it feels like some guy just sitting and going through these tapes just to record down the stories. If, like, the Enigma Corp is anything connected with this plot line where it's like, no, we find these tapes, and now we're in too deep, so we have to seek these things out so that we can find them and whatever. That's like the furthest development that they've got, is these people are now actively seeking these things and recording themselves, but it doesn't make sense. What are you doing? Are you just putting them in a bunker and calling it a day? Are you rehabilitating them? Are you adopting them? No, all of them suck. So the Enigma Corp is so dumb. It's just a nice through plot to make it convenient, where if whoever got the assignment can't think of anything original, they can just slap the Enigma Corp in and be like, all right, they're going in, so that they can just get away with a plot line that's nothing but whodunits with no clues.
And then shooting whatever it is at the end.
Yes!
I don't understand why killing the things is now part of this. Like,
right. Like, you don't want to preserve its Animal Planet. Shouldn't you at least, like, get some fucking Captain Planetisms in there?
Well, I mean, they trained to tranquilize the Strigoi, and then we get the scene where the guy spits the tranquilizer dart out.
Good ass, man.
It's what I ultimately don't get is why the show has changed between the second and third seasons so much. If it was like a group of people came in and said, all right, we want to do something different with the show, I get that, but if it's the people that were working on the first and second season of the show, they really lost their way.
Yeah. Well, I swear it has to be a corporate nonsense call. Yeah. Because, thinking back on the time that these episodes came out, we did have a weird segment of horror films that were coming out too.
Well, it does just feel it feels like the producers of the show wanted to capitalize on what was happening in the time. And at the time, it was 2008, 2009, 2010. We are in, the height of an Iraq conflict. And there's a lot of, Call of Duty is super fucking popular. And all of these things that they're trying to also likely trying to attract a younger audience.
Right. Well, that's for certain.
Animal Planet is one of those channels that, its audience doesn't, maybe back in the day, but not now, and certainly, not at that point, was skewing older. And I'm sure that an older audience wasn't as into this type of show. And in order to try and draw new viewers to the, Animal Planet other programming, it feels like they're trying to capitalize on that. Yeah. Like this whole episode feels like a zombie add-on to Call of Duty, right? Like throw in some Nazis and there you go.
Yeah, Nazi zombies, everybody's favorite.
Well, and I agree. It's very clearly being influenced by the things that are popular at the time for whatever everybody else is watching. I mean, Animal Planet, I don't even know who the Animal Planet audience is, like people who accidentally wandered into that channel. Like I
didn't know either.
I don't get it. Like if it's just a repository for showing footage of animals, like great. Is that what it is? Like if that's all it is, awesome. Like
I feel like when I was a kid, I did watch a lot of Animal Planet, and a lot of it was, for a while, I was like Planet Earth and Blue Planet and all those things, and that got people really into watching those type of shows. And when I also watched, it kind of was like the Travel Channel also, but with animals. And so I think it's like the Travel Channel, the History Channel, and Animal Planet are all basically the same audience, like a Venn diagram. Like it all just kind of filters in.
Well, not to mention
National Geographic.
It was also a point in time. I mean, like historically speaking, as far as like television viewership goes, like the almost golden equation is trying to get the teenage audience in.
Oh,
and so like at that point in time, they had like hard and fast, this is what teens are going to watch. So we're going to incorporate that so that we not only have people who like to stare at cool pictures of animals, we get the older crowd that just likes learning cool sciencey facts, but now we have the teenagers with all this wacky nonsense. So it just smacks of a weird corporate decision to try and get that teen audience thing. It's the same with Disney, where they had like opened up a bunch of dance clubs and shit, where it's like, really? Okay.
Well, and in 2008, Animal Planet rebranded, and they were trying to
be edgier,
right? Go for like an edgier, or like a more, like we've said, a teen audience. And this show, this show doesn't get mentioned a lot in terms of things
like
that
Shark and all that on Discovery Channel, but Shark Week used to be just a cool, just sciencey kind of week of really interesting shark shows, and now it is everything is fake. Almost every single show on Shark Week is mostly fake. Because it comes to this kind of idea that this show chose in this sort of like, we're gonna do a very base level, edgy horror animal show, essentially.
Well,
we're gonna make it like a horror movie to draw the kids in.
Animal show.
Yeah.
In quotations.
Adjacent.
That for me is the most frustrating thing here, is watching the show that I've been enjoying just really pivot in a way that, like, the original show, fine. If it doesn't get that audience, fine. But don't change the show so much that the audience that is enjoying it doesn't recognize it.
Right.
And that's what's happened now. Like, Strigois are interesting, but it's just a vampire. Like, it's just a vampire adjacent thing. And I'm not saying that because it's not interesting. I'm saying that because they don't make it seem like it's anything else other than that. They don't even make it seem like it's anything other than just a vampire.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they barely, like I said, they don't touch on anything really about like the myth of the Strigoi. They don't really talk about it at all. They just do a basic rundown of like what a Strigoi, quote unquote, is and what its powers are. Basically just giving you the stats for the monster that, our little video game heroes are going to come through and die for.
And can I ask a question? Why did they survive? It was like, and they both survived their encounter with the Strigoi. Like, well, okay, sure. It's so Enigma Corp can continue with these two characters, but like, why?
Just why?
Right, because they never commit to Enigma Corp actually being a through line story. It just pops up in there, and
Then later they were fired. Like,
Oh, okay.
Well, what I don't understand is like we've had all these episodes where random civilians have just been gored and murdered by these monsters. And then these two gun-toting people survive and they're fine. And it's like, but they were literally in close contact with a vampire to the point where the vampire had to have like bitten that lady on the neck while it was sitting behind her. Like, I don't understand. It's such a weird nothing burger of an episode. It really is. There's just nothing to it.
Yeah.
And why no Loch Ness? We say it every time.
Why no Loch Ness?
I just don't get it. Like, of all the things to not include in your show.
Right. Yeah, well, who knows?
The Loch Ness is copywritten.
There's no story there. What are we going to do with Loch Ness?
Right. Yeah. What would be the point of telling that story?
Right.
Why not do the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah.
I don't
like a triangle episode.
I don't get it. Like there were enough things that they could have done that weren't just cryptids, that are like phenomena. Like you could have done Dyatlov Pass. Like you could have done plenty of things. You just chose to do vampires, zombies, and werewolves. Fucking come on.
Thank you. Oh my.
And that's the thing. Like this episode, like you mentioned, Maggie, I've seen those people on YouTube, you know, that have covered Lost Tapes. They only talk about the third season if they're clowning on it.
Yeah, sadly.
Right? Like that. I mean, you know, like the third season of this show is really not great.
Dude,
like,
they got ambitious. They got weird, and it wasn't a good weird.
No, it's just like a complete random direction that doesn't speak to what this show is. Right. Which is a show about cryptids. Like the Strigoi, again, like they don't do the Strigoi justice. And that's the biggest problem more than anything else. Like even Guillermo del Toro's The Strain doesn't really do Strigoi justice, but at least it makes Strigoi scary.
Yeah. Right.
This doesn't have any interest in actually being scary. This is like Halloween dress up down at the local Spirit.
Oh God! It's like grade schoolers putting on a haunted house. That's the impression.
Use your imagination because you don't get to see the thing.
Nothing scarier than pancake makeup,
and it's all in broad daylight. Also,
yeah. Oh well,
not that it has to be dark to be scary, but if you're not gonna, with the Strigoi and what they were doing, it needed to be like a suspense type scary, right? Like you don't know where it's gonna be or what it is. It is like a Thing situation, but. No, we're just running around in the open desert in broad daylight, just yelling at each other. Look over there.
Who did this?
My favorite was when they're like, "It's in the air. Don't take your helmet off."
Oh my God.
They had to do that scene where they're like, "I'm not going to take my helmet off. I don't believe them. You'll be dead in a minute." It's like, okay.
All right, fine.
And why does the Enigma Corp think it, like the Enigma Corp, I guess, thought it was like a disease or something, like a airborne disease. It's so weird. Like, I don't get it. It's a vampire.
Because it's a toxin, because some people are showing up without any incident on their body. They're just dead. And then other people are showing up mangled. So
just too much going on.
Explanation for either of those things.
Too much going on. They wanted a mulligan creature and they wanted to utilize all of its cool superpowers, and it just got real muddy.
Including but not limited to the fact that you can't see it.
Exactly. Which is, oh my gosh, man. Why don't you just be Speed Racer at that point?
It's the best thing is when you can't see something. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's how you keep the production quality at zero. Money spent, guys, because they just can't see it.
So many cheap animation that can tell you that works out so well for them. Well, that's why they're still around today.
I wish that we had some more positive things to say about some of this season of the show, but it's not.
Interesting choices. I can at least give props where like the episodes get real creative. They don't succeed, but at least there was a risk involved. This one, sadly, is an example of something that didn't really have too much going for it, and it shows, which is such a shame. Yeah.
No, I mean, like, you can try and fail, but at least you tried. This is just failing, just flailing and failing, really. Because
you gave up through the project and was just left it.
Animal Planet, folks. Whatever.
Thanks. RIP. How does your rebranding do for you?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they rebranded in 2018 to be more focused on what they were initially, which is like, family-focused programming and programming that the whole family can enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
The edgy content is gone, quote unquote, but I don't know if it was ever needed. I mean, again, like I like Lost Tapes, but this is like the first 2 seasons were Animal Planet, but the third is like, okay, now we have lost our way officially. It didn't take very long, but we did. So yeah. So on that note, on the next episode of Lost Tapes, we'll be talking about Poltergeist, which is also shockingly not a cryptid.
Who would have thought?
I know. From one Eastern European thing to a German thing, neither of which are cryptids, but fine. Okay.
We'll go with that, sure.
Yeah, right. Until then, Jess, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at WriterJessFired. You can also find me at Weirding Way Media, where I do some other podcasts with Chris and Maggie. I am occasionally on the Culture Cast, where we're talking about different movies each episode. You can also find our other show, oh my Lord in heaven.
One season show where we talk about shows that last for one season.
Yes, and other things. So go for it, Chris. Where can we find you?
WeirdingWayMedia.com. That's where you can find me. Jess already mentioned it. Nowhere else. What about you, Maggie?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Dolan Museum and my website, dolanmuseum.com. It's a bunch of nonsense. Come and check it out.
And as for this show, ScaryStoriesWeTell.com, Scary Stories WT on all social media. Big thanks as always to, Maggie, you're here, so we can thank you in person.
Why, thank you.
For the album artwork. No, thank you. And to Dustin for the album artwork as well. So we can thank everybody all at once. And to Alex Malnak of Blondo, who, if you're in the Midwest, you can find him touring. But if not, go to Spotify and look up Blondo. As always, we'll let our good friend, the former host of Sightings, Mr. Tim White, lead us out.
No mystery is closed to an open mind.